Well, guess who saw Superman? Yes, me. And, boy, I paid a hefty price. Not the price to see it. No, I mean, it cost me sleep. And I'm a night person due to work. And when I don't get enough sleep, oh, geez. I mean, I was a zombie walking around afterwards. And it was pretty tight. And I got it done because I figured things would be spoiled. It turned out just about everything was already spoiled. But nevertheless, that's what it did. So right off the bat, to be fair, I'm hoping to get a better chance to see it next week when I'm not so out of it. But I don't think I was too out of it to not judge it overall. So I'm not going to spoil anything, even though, as I said, just about all of it already was. So first things first, I didn't hate it. I'm not really in love with it either. In fact, there's a couple of things. One major thing that I have serious problems with, and it's not the costume. I mean, I didn't like the costume, but you know what? Watching it in the movie and everything, it just didn't kick me out of the movie. It wasn't a distraction type thing. I just forgot about it as the movie unfolded. As far as wokeness being in it, no. That just, and right up to the last minute, the immigration thing is dumped on the floor and stirred up by the usual suspects and other people following for it, I must confess, and that sort of thing. But in the movie itself, no, it's just not there. Similarities in plot to Man of Steel here and there and Batman versus Superman, all that is still there, sort of. But, well, it is what it is. There were a lot of the other negative complaints that I heard from people who got to see it earlier because of the Amazon. And saying things on that Lex Luthor, Nicholas Holt's performance of him was all over the place, would change all I didn't see that at all. He gets angrier towards the end when his plans are going awry and that sort of thing. But you got to expect that, So he was fine. I didn't have a problem with him at all, really. David Cornsweet does a good job as Superman. There again was hearing stories about he does a better Clark Kent than he does Superman, and he gets to play Clark Kent more than Henry Cavill did. Henry Cavill never really did, and they just sort of didn't bother with that. You see him, in the get-up and doing the job of Clark Kent in Batman versus Superman, but he doesn't really, there's no change in personality or anything here. Here, it's very brief. It's not on par with Christopher Reeve in the original film. And that sort of thing of having them be two separate identities, But that, not so much was in this, but for the purpose of it, and as it flowed, it was fine. It's a movie that at least has a story and a plot, whatnot, and from start to finish and all that. So it's fairly solid on what it's about. And, Lex Luthor is the evil villain here and all that sort of stuff. And Superman's got to stop him. Very simple. It is cluttered with these other characters, which even now, even though I got some enjoyment out of the film, I still think was a mistake. Superman is the main focus of the story, but he's still kind of almost a guest star in his own movie. That being said, the members of the Justice Gang, Mr. Terrific and Guy Gardner stand out. Hawkwoman, she was there, but she didn't really, she helped with the battles and stuff like that. But for the most part, you didn't really get a lot of detail about her. Nathan Fillion does an excellent job as Guy Gardner in that Guy Gardner is an asshole, and he does that pretty good, and he fits in the James Gunn mold, and it's very apparent it's a James Gunn film. It's not on par with Guardians of the Galaxy, but a lot of those templates are there. But he reined it in. But still, very much a James Gunn movie. And after all said and done, again, because I didn't hate it, it didn't push me out of the story and that sort of thing. To give it an objective view of it, he did all right, but he still, I don't think, is the right guy to do a Superman movie. And but I think he did the best job that he could, and there it is. But it's a DC universe building movie. It is not a Superman movie. There's no way to get around that. That's obviously what it is. It's predominantly Superman, but not a complete Superman movie. And so, reining it in, I heard some suggesting, oh, God, this is on par with Thor Love and Thunder. Holy crap, no, it's not. Which, wasn't a James Gunn movie. It tried to be a James Gunn movie, but Thor Love and Thunder is the quintessential peak, comedy choking the life out of a movie, because Marvel believes that's the secret sauce to their movies. And this was the ultimate culmination of that template of what happened there. And the sad thing about it is Thor Love and Thunder had a really good plot, but it never got a chance to breathe. It was choked out by constant idiot jokes, no matter where it went. The Superman doesn't do that. There's humor in it. There's little gags and stuff. And I was a little worried. Some of the scenes I'd seen in trailers and that sort of thing in a clip here and there. Because the scene of Krypto being naughty and the Forces of Solitude and Superman being upset. And I was like, God, he's kind of acting like Star-Lord here and that sort of thing. But seeing it in its context, it wasn't that bad. I thought the robots would be really stupid. But not. Is some of the things that I thought would be stupid, it's so quick that it doesn't have time to be that irritating and annoying. So that's another thing. The movie's very fast. It moves along very quick. And probably I keep wanting to say the word detriment, but that's the opposite of to its benefit. Sorry. I understand that they did cut 25 minutes out of it, which is usually the case with movies, but there was a lot of screen tests, and they figured out what people reacted to negatively and, removed it altogether or, reined it in or what have you and that sort of thing. So Lois Lane's excellent. She does very well. The Jimmy Olsen character, he's all right. I mean, he looks the character and everything. There is a bit of a question there about Jimmy. And I don't know if they're insinuating something or what. I guess we'll have to find out in the sequel or something. I don't know. Beyond that, two of the characters are just, the personalities of them are not accurate. Most notably is Metamorpho. That's just not his personality. At first I thought because of the circumstances in which he's introduced and he's in a bad place and all this sort of thing. And then he comes around and all that. But no, he's just not the character at all. He looks like the character. It's a really good makeup of him. I mean, his weird powers and stuff that he can do, they demonstrate that. It's all very comic book accurate in that aspect. But that's not his personality. Also Mr. Terrific. Now his genius intellect is there, his abilities. He, again, looks like the character. Had problems with the costumes, even, beyond Superman's, but also Hawkgirl and Green Lantern. That just doesn't look right. But they're on the same team that's funded by Max Lord, who's only briefly in the movie. So I guess to wait for Peacemaker to see more of him. And all that sort of thing. So it's sort of their brand or whatever. But Mr. Terrific's outfit is exactly right. That's pretty much the Mr. Terrific costume. So he's the most accurate, besides Metamorpho, looking character in it. And yet his personality is not quite it. I don't know. They just did it because I guess they wanted a comedic edge to it, and that's what they did. Probably not as bad as Metamorpho going forward, whatever they want to do with that character, because that is absolutely not his personality. The rest of it, well, Luthor has his evil plot, the big mystery of Ultraman. There was only certain options, and the most, perhaps one of the obvious ones. And people were wondering, is Henry Cavill in there? And I wondered, they said they offered Henry Cavill a part. Was this it? I don't know. And all that, but won't go into the full detail. Engineer worked for what she was there. Again, she doesn't look like the character, so she wasn't comic accurate. And I don't know what further they'll do. I don't even know if there's still going to be an Authority movie or anything like that. There's some elements thrown in there that I could see them linking that to the Authority and whatnot. Not all that excited about that because I've never accepted the Wildstorm characters in DC continuity. I think they belong in their own and not crossovers and specials, fine, but not within the same continuity. They just don't work in that world. So all that's fine. I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say Supergirl shows up at the end. I don't think it was handled well. I know what they're referencing because I know the story her movie's based on. But it doesn't really work. It wasn't a good way to send off the film, But the worst thing here, so I guess it's like Man of Steel had that stupid death scene of Jonathan Kent, and that does not work. Here, they rewrite Jor-El and Lara, and I don't like it. I think it's terrible. And there was a way out of it in the movie. You think, I see what's going on here, and no, it's left intact. So yeah, I'm not crazy about that. But does it destroy the whole thing going forward and all that? No, not really. So I think a lot of people probably will have fun with it and have a good time, popcorn movie and that sort of thing. And that's good enough, and based on recent claims, they really only have to make over 500 million, apparently. That's what they're saying. And they'll be good. Then odds are, I think they can get there. I think they can do that. So DCU's beginning, really, and I don't think Superman's gonna fail or kill it outright because it just isn't bad enough to do that. It's got some bad, but not enough. And here again, I'm like in the same boat almost with like Henry Cavill. I think, man, I'd just like to see him get another shot at Superman in his own Superman movie, and it never happened. And hopefully that, Superman, I don't know if they'll call it Superman 2 or whatever, but the next Superman movie for David Cornsweet, hopefully David Cornsweet is more center stage in this and gets to actually be Superman in a Superman movie. Because I think he can do it. I think he's got the chops for it. of course, I was a big fan of Henry Cavill's performance of Superman and wanted to see him more in the classic Superman role. And I thought Brandon Routh was a good Superman. He was in a crappy movie, wasn't his fault, and that's a shame, and this keeps happening. Here, David Cornsweet probably has more of a shot. I don't think this movie burns anything down outright. And if they're being honest and it just needs to make over $500 million, then okay. So somewhere in the middle on this, I was not blown away by it. I was irritated by some things, but there was a lot there I enjoyed. The cast is, for the most part, fine. Some of the elements in the how they were characterized and written, but just the movie on its own, it worked out. I think it is still hindered by this world-building business, and where this comes across as a movie it's like Superman Part 2, like there was a Superman 1 we just never saw. It comes across like that. And I don't mean that you had to have an origin story, but I thought they would have been better to begin with a smaller cast, with just a Superman cast. Little mentions that there's other superheroes in the Daily Planet saying, oh, there's this other story and that kind of thing. Okay, fine. And concentrate on Superman and the conflict he has to resolve. And I think that would have been superior to this approach. But for what it was, I still think it's a flaw to it, but it doesn't derail the movie entirely. So I'm probably forgetting a few things here, but all in all, without going plot point by plot point and spoiling it all, that's where I am with it. It didn't piss me off, but I'm not blown away by it either. So we'll see how it performs. And after that, it's on to Peacemaker Season 2, Lanterns, and Supergirl.